بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الناصح الأمين. اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين. ثم أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, we continue going over the tremendous book by the Fadilat Shaykh Al-Allama Shaykh Salih Al-Fawzan, the book which is entitled Aqeedatut Tawheed, Kitab Aqeedatut Tawheed. We have reached a very important chapter that it is essential for Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah that they have good knowledge about it and they know the proper stance as relates to it. And that is مذهب أهل السنة مذهب أهل السنة والجماعة فيما حدث بين الصحابة من القتال والفتنة. And that is the stance of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah as relates to that which has transpired between the Sahaba, that which had transpired between the Sahaba from the conflict or the fighting and the fitna, the turmoil, trials and tribulations. The sabab for the fitna, it is important that we understand and we know exactly what were the causes and the situation and the environment behind the fitna, that led to the fitna. And in this case, the fitna can be traced back to one evil individual. تآمر اليهود على الإسلام وأهله. And this is due to the plotting of the Jews, the plotting of the Jews against the people of Al-Islam. The fitna that transpired between the Sahaba, the cause of it was the plots of the Jews that they had intended for the people of Al-Islam. فَدَسُّوا مَاكِرًا خَبِيثًا تظاهر بالإسلام كذبا وزورا وهو عبد الله بن سبأ. So an evil wicked man was employed who was a plotter, who was despicable, who was deceiving, a deceiver. He put forth the impression that he was a Muslim. He put forth the impression that he had accepted Islam. But this was a lie. And this was, how would you say? This was, he pretended to be a Muslim. He pretended to be a Muslim. And that was the individual whose name was Abdullah bin Saba. Abdullah bin Saba. Min Yahud al-Yemen. He was from the Yahud of Yemen. And if you recall, Abdullah bin Saba, he is the founder of the Rafidah. He is the founder of the Rafidah. Naam. فأخذ هذا اليهودي ينفض حقده وسمومه ضد الخليفة الثالث من الخلفاء الراشدين. من الخلفاء الراشدين. This Yahudi, this Jew, he began his plot. His plot began by scheming against the third Khalifa, against the third rightly guided Khalifa. Naam. And that was none other than Uthman bin Affan radiyallahu ta'ala anhu wa ardahu. And that was Uthman bin Affan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him. May Allah Jalla wa Ala be pleased with him. وَيَخْتَلِقُ التُّهَمْ ضِدَّهُ. And he started to invent lies. He started to invent accusations. He started to launch false accusations against Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. فَالْتَفَّ حَوْلَهُ مَنْ خَدَعَ بِهِ. So then he started to have supporters. Those who were deceived by him, they started to rally around him. مِنْ قَاصِرِ النَّظَرِ. From those who they were short-sighted. They had short-sightedness. وَضِعَافِ الْإِيمَانِ. And they had weak faith. They had weak faith. وَمُحِبِّ الْفِتْنَةِ. And they used to love fitna. They loved trials and tribulations. And when you look at this plot, which bila shak wa bila rayb is a plot that is satanic, is a plot from a shaitan, you will find similarities in all of the likes of these plots, from the launching of false accusations, to those who are deceived by these individuals who put forth these false accusations, and they will rally around them, lending aid and support to them and to their agenda. Individuals who are very short-sighted, individuals who are plagued with the weakness of iman, those who love fitna, those who they love it, they love the turmoil, they love to see the calamity, and so on and so forth. Na'am. وانتهت المؤامرة بقتل الخليفة الراشد عثمان مظلوما. And his plot, it came to its conclusion by the wrongful assassination of Uthman. By the wrongful assassination of Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. وعلى أثر مقتله. And it was in wake of his killing. وعلى أثر مقتله حصل الاختلاف بين المسلمين. And it was in the wake of his killing, in the wake of the assassination of Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, that led rise to the differing amongst the Muslims. That set up the atmosphere, that set up the stage for the Muslims to differ. So they began to differ due to the assassination of Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. وشبت الفتنة وتحريض من هذه اليهود وأتباعه وحصل القتال بين الصحابة عن اجتهاد منهم. So after Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he was assassinated, as a consequence, this led to disunity and disputes amongst the Muslims. It led to disputes and ikhtilaf, disunity amongst the Muslims. And this initiated, and that which was initiated by this Jew and by his followers, it eventually led to the companions fighting amongst themselves. It led to the companions fighting amongst themselves. So you find that which was the precipice, that which was the catalyst, that which was the catalyst for the conflict amongst the Sahaba, then what? It was the plot that was led by this Yahudi against Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And from this we see something that is tremendous, as the ulama, they explain, because this Yahudi, he didn't start by taking up arms against Uthman. He didn't start by launching a military campaign against Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, but rather he did as the Khawarij they do, is that what? They begin with speaking out against the rulers. He began with his tongue. Because the lisan, as the ulama, they explain, when it comes to the Bab al-Khuruj, al-lisan sabaq as-sayf, that the tongue, it precedes the sword. It's always the tongue comes first. Na'am. Sabaq as-sayf, yani always the tongue, it comes first and before the sword. And this is how it happens in every situation, every khuruj, you find it like this. They start spreading doubts, and they start trying to tarnish the image of the rulers, and they start putting doubts inside the people's minds about the ruler, and so on and so forth, and agitating them against the ruler until they pick up arms and take up arms against the ruler. Na'am. That's why all of these methodologies, from the methodology of democracy, from protesting and speaking out against and so on and so forth, this is foreign to the deen of al-Islam. This is not the Islamic way, because it leads ultimately to what? To khuruj. It leads ultimately to revolt against the Muslim rulers. Wa'iyadu billah. Ala kulli hal, due to this campaign that this Yahudi, Abdullah bin Saba, that he launched against Uthman by these false accusations, and rallying his supporters, and the fitna that his supporters they spread, it led to the killing of Uthman, which in its wake caused the Sahaba to differ amongst themselves, which led to the conflict that had taken place between them. But Shaykh Fawzan, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he mentions a very important point. He says, ijtihadan minhum, that this was out of ijtihad, that the conflict in which that they fell into amongst themselves, it was due to an ijtihad from both parties. Both parties viewed that this was the correct course of action, and that which was in compliance with the Kitab and the Sunnah. So they, from the bab of ijtihad, they made ijtihad. And this portion is very important, and this part is very important to remember. And inshallah ta'ala, at the end of the chapter, we will revisit this particular point. وقال الشارح الطحاوية, and the explainer of Aqeedatut, he mentions, he says, إن الأصل الرفض إنما أحدثه منافق زنديق. He said that the origin of الرفض, the origin of the Rafida, the origin of the Rafida, the Shia, their origin, it was that which was invented by a hypocrite. He was a munafiq, and he was zindiq, he was a heretic. And that was none other than Abdullah bin Saba. Abdullah bin Saba. And listen, let me mention this before, but as a reminder, qasdu, what was his intention? Qasdu ibtalu deen al-Islam. He wanted to destroy the deen of al-Islam. He wanted to destroy the deen of al-Islam. He couldn't do it externally, because the Muslims were strong in those days. So he couldn't do it externally. He couldn't raise a military army and come defeat the Muslims and so on and so forth. This was a time when the Muslim armies, they were defeating the biggest world powers in their area and in their region and so on and so forth. So militarily, he knew he had no win. So what he tried to do, he employed a plot that had taken place, or that was utilized in the past. So he tried to destroy Islam, والقدح في الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم, and he tried to speak ill of the messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم and defame the messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم, كما ذكر ذلك العلماء, just like the ulama they explain. فإن عبد الله بن سبأ لما أظهر الإسلام أراد أن يفسد دين الإسلام بمكره وخبثه كما فعل بوليس بدين النصرانية. So this one, Abdullah bin Saba, when he pretended to be a Muslim, and pretended to enter into al-Islam, he wanted to bring corruption to the deen of al-Islam due to his plots and due to his despicable nature, due to his filth, just like Paul did to the religion of Christianity, or Nasraniyya. Just like Paul did to the religion of Christianity. Because if one reflects on the teachings of Paul, he will find that Paul directly contradicted Isa alayhi salatu wassalam. So he fought against the message of Isa alayhi salatu wassalam, under the guise that he was calling to that which Isa alayhi salatu was upon. And from every example you see this. Isa alayhi salatu wassalam, he called to Tawheed. He called to it Tawheed, the worship of Allah and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Paul, he came and he called to what? The Trinity. He launched divinity to Isa. Right? He launched divinity onto Isa. Wa'iyadu billah. And if you go down, you'll see the same. Isa alayhi salam, he called the people to the deen of al-Islam. That which was different and contrary to the deen of the polytheists. Paul, what did he do? He merged the religion of the polytheists and he brought it into Christianity as if it was Christianity. So the practices of the Romans and their mythology, he brought them into Christianity. And this is why when you look at the Christian practices, you find that their major holidays have their origin in what? Pagan practices. From Christmas, from Easter, so on and so forth. The origin is in pagan practices. Why? Because Paul merged them. He brought them all in and said, okay, it's fine, we call it Christianity. Now, all the way down to the eating of pork. Isa alayhi salam taught the people that pork, khinzir, is haram because it's haram. Paul come and say, no, it's okay. It's fine, eat it. It's okay. You understand? So, Paul contradicted Isa alayhi salatu wassalam in every aspect. But convincing the people that if you take these contradictions, that's what Isa alayhi salatu was upon. So he did what? So he destroyed, it was his intent to corrupt and destroy the message of Isa alayhi salatu wassalam, what? In the name of the message of Isa alayhi salatu wassalam. So this one, Abdullah bin Saba, tried to do the same thing. He tried to destroy Islam from within by bringing people an Aqeedah and then calling it Islamic, but an Aqeedah that was totally foreign and opposite of the Islamic Aqeedah. So for example, employing the same plots, and we'll see a little bit more about this, is that he launched divinity because the Prophet ﷺ, he taught the people at Tawheed. He taught the people at Tawheed. Abdullah bin Saba, he came, he taught the people what? Shirk. He told the people that Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he was divine. He taught the people that Ali was divine. Is that not like what Paul did? Told the people that Isa was divine. You see the same plot employed, right? And so on and so forth. When one goes through the Aqeedah of the Rafidah, they will find striking similarities between the Rafidah and the Jews. Striking similarities, striking comparisons between what Paul did and what this one tried to do, Abdullah bin Saba. Wa'iyadu billah. Naam. So he tried to destroy Islam from within. وَأَظْهَرَ. And this is another important point that I want all of us to really pay attention and to concentrate on. وَأَظْهَرَ فَأَظْهَرَ التَّنَسُّكَ. So he portrayed himself as being what? As being religious, as being pious. He portrayed himself as being religious and as being pious. And when one look at the shayateen, those who try to bring corruption, right, to the deen, you will find they all do this. Is there a mubtadi' that comes forward and he says, no, he just, straight fasiq, mubtadi', fasiq, and the like? No, they present an aura of righteousness, that they're righteous, they're concerned with this, they're concerned with Islam, and so on and so forth. But then you find from them what? Contradictions, straight contradictions. Naam. So he acted like he was righteous. ثم أظهر أمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر. And then he what? Then he projected that he was one who called to good and forbid evil. Then he projected that he was one that called to good and forbid evil. But the reality of it is that what? Is that he wasn't really righteous, right? He put forth the impression that he was righteous, but he wasn't really righteous. He put forward the impression that he calls the good and he forbids evil, but he really didn't call the good nor forbid evil. Nah. But in fact, what? He called to evil and he prevented good. But when one look at these characteristics of the shayateen from the human beings, and you will find these characteristics are shared by all of them. So when one examines the Khawarij, The one examines the Khawarij. Do they not put forth the impression that they're religious? When one looks at the likes of the Khawarij in our time, Daesh, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, don't they put forward the impression that they're religious, that they're righteous? They do. But when one examines and when one really studies their case, he finds they're not righteous. They're not righteous at all. Some of them don't even pray. You understand? Some of them don't even pray. You find that they're from the most corrupt of the people. Right? Al-Qaeda, which has its what do you call it? Which was supported by Taliban, these Khawarij. From a Taliban. You find a Taliban, they put forth the impression that like they're religious, right? Want to be Sharia compliant, want to make sure the women cover and all this type of stuff like that. They put forth the impression. But the reality is that they're not righteous. They're the biggest drug dealers in the region. They run their empire off of selling drugs and other haram activities. But drug dealing is like the biggest money maker for them. And when one look at these syndicates of the Khawarij, you'll find that everything from petty larceny all the way to drug selling, all kind of smuggling and so on and so forth. This is where they get their money from extortion, extorting people and so on and so forth. This is where they get their money from. ISIS, they extort the people. When they go into a place and they take it over, they go to all the shops and they extort everybody. You want to stay in business? You better pay this. It's extortion. Haram. But they put forth the case that they're righteous, but they're not really righteous. Likewise, they put forth the understanding that, we call to good and we forbidding evil, but they're not calling to good and forbidding evil. They call revolting against a Muslim ruler calling to good and forbidding evil. But revolting against a Muslim ruler is what is calling to evil and preventing good. So you find that these Khawarij, you find these Rafidah, these Shayateen from the human beings, they all come with the same ploy. They all come with the same ploy. And the likes of these characteristics are extremely important for us to know and understand, because it's by way of knowing the characteristics that we'll be safe. It's by way of knowing the characteristics that we'll be safe. We'll never be safe if we learn a list of names, because names change. Names change. And an example of that, which shows how people will divorce themselves from, in this, the saying goes, they'll divorce themselves from a man but not the methodology, is the likes of those individuals who have a problem with Al-Qaeda, or they have a problem with Daesh, but then they support Nusra. You understand? They have a problem with Daesh. They say, no, we don't like Daesh, but then they support Nusra. But they're two faces of the same coin. So this is an illustration of people who have divorced the man but not the methodology. Why? Because they don't understand the methodology. See, names change. Whether it's called Daesh, whether it's called Nusra, whether it's called Al-Shabab, so on and so forth, it's all the same thing. It's all Khuruj. It's all Khuruj. So what do we think? The only person who's a Khariji is a person who come and say, I'm a Khariji, min al-Khawarij? No one's going to give you that courtesy. No one's going to come and say, hey, you know what, I'm a Mubtadi'. No one's going to give you that courtesy. You understand? A Khariji is not going to come and say, hey, I'm Khariji. No, he's going to come and say, I'm Sunni. He's going to come and say, I want to be a good Muslim. I want to practice Sharia, and so on and so forth. He's not going to come and give you the courtesy by telling you that he's from the Khawarij. But if you understand the characteristics of the Khawarij, then you'll be able to identify him no matter what he calls himself. No matter what he calls himself. He could come and say, I'm Salafi. Okay, we know what Salafi is. But now we look at you, we don't see the characteristics of a Salafi, and then we're not going to say you Salafi. You understand? But rather we see from you the characteristics of Khuruj, the characteristics of the Khawarij. So we say, you Khariji. You Khariji. Did not Hizb al-Nur or Jama'at al-Nur, the political party out of Egypt, did not they say they were Salafi? They said they were Salafi. They said they were Salafi. But the reality of it is that what? They were Qutbi Khariji. They weren't Salafi. Qutbi Khariji. This is why none from the ulama accepted that from them. Did they Salafi? No. They say they're Salafi, but they're not. They're Qutbi Khariji. Why? Because of their characteristics. These are the same one that was in the streets making khuruj against Husn Mubarak. How you Salafi? Khuruj is not from the way of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. They out there revolting against Husn Mubarak. How you Salafi? It's not from the way of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah to revolt against Husn Mubarak. Naam. Muhammad Hassan was in Tahrir, making a part of the revolt against Husn Mubarak. Naam. Right, so he said Muhammad Hassan Salafi. La, Muhammad Hassan huwa Hizbi, Qutbi, Khariji. Clear. Naam, clear. So we don't be confused because the names change, because if you understand what? The characteristics. And this is why the commentator here of Aqeedatut, he is explaining these things. They put forward like they was religious. They put forward like they was calling the good and forbidding evil and so on and so forth. حتى ساعة في فتنة عثمان وقتله, until it came to the point of the fitna that had taken place with Uthman and his assassination. Now, but I want you to understand one thing about these individuals is that what? Is that their faces will change as the objective changes. You don't find that they're consistent, but their faces change as the objective changes. Listen to what the Shaykh he says. He mentions. He says, ثم لما قدم على الكوفة. He said, but then when he went to Kufa, right? Because he acted like he was religious and he wanted to call the good and forbid the evil and so on and so forth, until he accomplished what? The assassination of Uthman. After Uthman was assassinated, then what did he do? He migrated to Kufa, right? He went to Kufa, and then in Kufa, what did he do? أظهر الغلو في علي. In Kufa, he portrayed what? Exaggeration as relates to Ali. وَالنُّصْرَ لَهُ. And he acted like he was a supporter of Ali. He acted like he was a what? A supporter of Ali. You see? And this is well known what had taken place with his supporters, and Ali had them executed and so on and so forth. Naam. But you find that this is the way of Ahl al-Bid'ah. They change up. If you look at Sabili Mithal, if you look at the Ikhwan Muslimin, they used to revolt. They revolted against Husn Mubarak. They used to censor him, and they used to blame him for having a constitution. But then when they seized control of the government, or when they got control of the government, and now the president was Ikhwani, the former president of Misr, all of that, we want to establish Sharia, constitution is bad thing, went out the window. Now, what are they saying? We got to be writers of the new constitution, right? Was it a year in power? Did he establish Sharia? No. Did he establish anything that was beneficial to Ahl al-Masr? No. But rather he did what? He caused corruption. He opened up the door for the Rafidah that hadn't had an opportunity and a foothold in Egypt since the Fatimiyya empire was expelled and taken down by Salahuddin. All those centuries, all those years, the Rafidah were out of Egypt. Now this Ikhwani comes, he opened up Egypt for them to come back. So in that time, what did they accomplish from the establishment of the Sharia? Nothing. Because you find that was just what they were saying to accomplish an objective. Once that objective was accomplished, now their objectives change. Their agenda shifts. So as the agenda shifts, you find that their platforms shift. And this is how you find Ahl Bid'ah. This is a characteristic of Ahl Bid'ah, and the people who have been overtaken by desires, is that you'll find them one day censoring something, just the next, and then the day after that, they co-sign it and they condone it. Well, which one is it? When it works in their favor, they'll censor it. And then when it works in their favor on another occasion, then they'll advocate for it. Which shows you that what? They really don't have any real standard. Their only standard is whatever works for them at the time frame. So you find from them much contradictions. When it comes, and this is how the people of desires and those who are overtaken by desires are. When it comes to their opponents, they'll say, oh, but the reason that we have taken this stance is because of X, Y, and Z. Right? X, Y, and Z. This is why we have taken this stance. Right. Then you examine their supporters and you say, wait, you've taken a stance against Group A because of X, Y, and Z. But when I look at people who you are with, people who are your allies, people who you are close with, your companions, we find the same characteristics of X, Y, and Z. So how come X, Y, and Z get these ones put on the blacklist, but the same X, Y, and Z when it comes to your friends, when it comes to your shillah, when it comes to your crew, it's fine. It's okay. Right? So now what's the real standard? What is it really about? Right? So you find these contradictions all the time when people have been overcome by their desires. And the likes of these contradictions is a sign of being overcome by desires. Why? Because the truth doesn't contradict itself. The truth, there's no contradictions inside the truth. Now, but falsehood has much contradictions. Because falsehood, it has no real standard. It's whatever works at the moment. Even though the next moment it may go against you because they're short-sighted. And this was another characteristic that we heard before, right? Because these individuals are short-sighted, their desires make them short-sighted and dim-witted. Is that what? They'll use an argument in one breath that will come back to be used against them in the next breath. But they're too short-sighted to even see that far. All they know is right now in this moment, I'm going to say this is going to get me out. No X, Y, and Z, that's why we don't deal with them. Okay, but people you deal with got the same characteristics, the exact same thing. Oh, we don't like this one because he studied in this place. Okay, well people who you deal with study in the same place and in fact we're classmates with them. So is that really it? It sounded good a minute ago, and then now, not so much. But this is an indication that these individuals have been overcome by desires. So you find that once he got to Kufa, he flipped the script. He changed everything up. So once he got to Kufa, he switched up. And now he started portraying and showing a ghulu for Ali, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He started showing a ghulu for Ali, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and that gave rise to what? To the Rafidah. To the Rafidah. Naam. And he acted like he was supporting a supporter of Ali. Naam. ليتمكن بذلك من أغراضه. Why was he acting like he was a supporter of Ali? And he started exaggerating with Ali, and he started claiming divinity for Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Why? Because he wanted to obtain his objective, and that was to do what? To destroy Islam from within. To destroy Islam from within. وَبَلَغَ ذَلِكَ عَلِيًّا. And this reached Ali. This reached Ali. Ali, he was very intelligent. Ali, he was from the Khulafa al-Rashidin. Naam, extremely intelligent, from the best of the Muslims. In fact, there were only 3 Muslims better than Ali from outside of the prophets and messengers. Naam, outside of the prophets and messengers, there are only 3 Muslims that are better than Ali. Only 3. They are Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman. They are the only 3 Muslims that are better than Ali. After that, Ali is better than what? Every other Muslim. Every other Muslim outside of the prophets and the messengers. Ali is better than him. So Ali, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, extremely intelligent, from the best of mankind. وَبَلَغَ ذَلِكَ عَلِيًّا. When that reached, when the information and what Abdullah bin Saba, what he was trying to do, when that reached Ali, فَطَلَبَ. Ali, he started looking for him. He put out the word for him. فَطَلَبَ قَتْلَهُ. He put out the word that Abdullah bin Saba was to be executed. فَهَرَبَ مِنْهُ إلى القرقيس. So he ran away from Ali to a land called Qarqis. وخبره معروف في التاريخ. And his story, the story of Abdullah bin Saba, is well known in the books of history. Is well known in the annals of history. نعم. وقال الشيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية, الشيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية, he said لما قتل عثمان رضي الله تعالى عنه تفرقت القلوب. He said when Uthman was killed, so now we go back to how the plot which led to the killing of Uthman was that which caused the stabilization to the Muslims and eventually led to the conflict between the Sahaba. That when Uthman was killed, when he was assassinated wrongly, unjustly, the hearts of the Muslims became divided. وَعَظُمَتِ الْقُرُوبِ, and the calamity intensified. وَظَهَرَتِ الْأَشْرَارِ, and the evil people became prevalent. The evil people became prevalent. Their statement became prevalent. وَظَلَّ الْأَخْيَارِ, and the statement of the good people, and the good people, they became suppressed. The good people became suppressed. وَسَعَى فِي الْفِتْنَةِ مَنْ كَانَ عَاجِزًا عَنْهَا, and those who used to be impoverished and they weren't able to do their fitna, they weren't able to come with these trials and these tribulations and these calamity, now they start increasing and coming with the trials and tribulations. So those who in the past they were prevented and they didn't have the ability to indulge in a fitna, now they started to indulge in a fitna, because this destabilization gave them an opportunity now to excel in their fitna where before they weren't able to do so. وَعَجَزَ عَنِ الْخَيْرِ وَالصَّلَاحِ مَنْ كَانَ يُحِبُّ إِقَامَتَهُ, and those who used to love to establish good and he to love to establish rectification, now because of this situation inside of this new environment, they weren't able to do so. Now they weren't able to do so. Those who used to do good before and love that good be established, now because of the situation had flipped, they weren't able to do so any longer. Now they weren't able to do so. They were incapable. فبايعوا أمير المؤمنين علي bin Abi Talib radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So the Muslims, a great portion of them, they gave bay'ah to Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. وهو أحق الناس بالخلافة حينئذ, and he was the best person, he had the most right to be the Khalifa at that time. At that time, he had the most right to be the Khalifa. Naam. وَأَفْضَلُ مَنْ بَقِيَ, and he was the best of the people who remained. He was the best of the Sahaba that remained. He was the best Muslim on the earth at that time. Naam. وَلَكِنْ كَانَتْ الْقُلُوبِ مُتَفَرِّقَةً, but the hearts, they were divided. وَالنَّارُ فِتْنَةً مُتَوَقِّدَةً, and the flames of fitna were being stoked. The flames of fitna, they were being stoked. Naam. فَلَمْ تَتَّفِقْ الْكَلِمَةِ, so the word was not together. There was disunity. There was disunity at that time. وَلَمْ تَنْتَظِمْ الْجَمَاعَةِ, and the jama'ah, the unity, was not put in order at that time. وَلَمْ يَتَمَكِّنْ الْخَلِيفَةِ وَالْخِيَارُ الْأُمَّةِ مِنْ كُلِّ مَا يُرِيدُونَهُ مِنَ الْخَيْرِ, and the Khalifa at that time, Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and those good ones from the Ummah, those righteous and good wholesome people, they weren't able to establish all of the good that they wanted to do. وَدَخَلَ فِي الْفُرْقَةِ وَالْفِتْنَةِ أَقْوَامٌ, and people, a group of people entered into the disunity, they entered into the tribulation, they entered into the fitna. Na'am. وَكَانَ مَا كَانَ, and what had happened, happened. What had happened, happened. وَقَالَ أيضا, Shaykh al-Islam, he also mentions, مبينا, shedding some more light, يعني عُذْرُ المقاتلين من الصحابة, showing us the excuse, يعني the excuse for those who had those two parties that had come into conflict and amongst from the Sahaba fil qital al-Ali wa Muawiyah, from those who fought either against Ali or against Muawiyah. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he explains to us, giving us more detail why this took place, why there were two groups of the Sahaba who were at odds with one another. Muawiyah, and it's a very important point. The Shaykh al-Islam, he defends Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He says Muawiyah lam yadda'i al-khilafa. Muawiyah, he never claimed or had any aspirations to be Khalifa. Muawiyah, he never had any aspirations or to be the Khalifa. So those who say that the conflict was because Muawiyah fought against Ali because Muawiyah wanted to be Khalifa, that's a lie. Muawiyah, he never wanted to be the Khalifa. He never put forth any claim that he should be Khalifa. وَلَمْ يُبَيِّعْ لَهُ بِهَا حِينَ قَاتَلَ عَلِيًّا. And no one gave Muawiyah bay'ah. No one gave Muawiyah bay'ah at the time when he was in conflict with Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma. Radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. وَلَمْ يُقَاتِلْ عَلَى أَنَّهُ خَلِيفَةٌ. And he didn't fight against Ali from the standpoint because he felt he was the rightful Khalifa. This is not correct. وَلَا أَنَّهُ يَسْتَحِقُّ خِلَافًا. Nor did he believe that he deserved to be Khalifa. He didn't believe he deserved to be Khalifa. نعم. وَكَانَ مُعَاوِيَةٌ يُقِرُّ بِذَلِكَ لِمَنْ سَأَلَهُ عَنْهُ. And Muawiyah, he affirmed this to those who asked him about it. Those who asked him about it, who questioned him about this, he affirmed that no, I'm not trying to be Khalifa. I don't want to be Khalifa. I don't think I should be Khalifa, so on and so forth. Ali's the Khalifa. نعم. ولا كان معاوية وأصحابه يرون أن يبتدئوا عليا وأصحابه بالقتال. Nor did Muawiyah nor his companions, neither of them saw that they should initiate any fighting against Ali and those who are with Ali. They didn't view that they should initiate and start any conflict with Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu wa radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in. Na'am. Wa ashabuhu but rather Shaykh al-Islam, he's explaining why the conflict came to being. But لما رأى علي رضي الله تعالى عنه, but when Ali, when he saw وأصحابه and his companions أنه يجب عليهم طاعته والمبيعة. But when Ali, because Ali realized, and his companions, those who were with him, they realized that it was binding, it was wajib, that Muawiyah and those who were with him, that they obeyed Ali and they gave bay'ah to Ali. That they obeyed Ali and they gave bay'ah to Ali. Naam. وَيَمْتَنِعُونَ عَنْ هَذَا الْوَاجِبِ. And that they had prevented the establishment of this obligation. وَهُمْ أَهْلُ شَوْكَةٍ. And Ali, he was the authority. He was the leader. He was the ruler. He was the authority. رَأَى أَنَّ يُقَاتِلَهُمْ حَتَّى يُؤَدِّي هَذَا الْوَاجِبِ. So Ali decided that the only way to establish this obligation will be by fighting against Muawiyah and by fighting against those who were with him. And this is how this is what led to the conflict itself. This is what led to the conflict itself. But remember, that which was the cause for it was the destabilization that was caused by Abdullah bin Saba when he launched a campaign that led in the assassination of Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah is going to explain further about that now. He mentions, he says, فَتَحْصُلُ الطَّاعَةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ, that by fighting them, then we will be able to unite, bring the unity and to unite everyone under obedience to the rightful ruler. وَهُمْ أي Muawiyah وَمَنْ مَعَهُ, but Muawiyah and those who were with him, see what prevented them from making the bay'ah to Ali at that particular time. And remember, this is ijtihad. This was out of an ijtihad from them. أَنَّ ذَلِكَ لَا يَجِبُ عَلَيْهِمْ, they thought at that particular time it wasn't binding upon them at that time, because the Muslims had yet to unanimously consolidate behind Ali. So until that time, because once, in other words, once the Muslims have unanimously consolidated behind a ruler, then that's it. Then bay'ah becomes at that time binding for that ruler. Even if he took the rulership, once his rulership is solidified, then now it's binding that everybody got to make bay'ah to him. But until that time, then you still have a little bit of room. So Muawiyah and those who were with him from the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'een, they felt that it had yet to reach that point, so it wasn't binding on them at that particular time to make bay'ah to Ali. And the reason is because أنهم إذا قتلوا على ذلك كانوا مظلومين, and that if they were fought because of their hesitation, then they will be fought unjustly and it will be oppressively. وقالوا, and they said, this was their line of reasoning, لأن عثمان قتل مظلوما باتفاق المسلمين, is that Uthman, he was killed unjustly by consensus of the Muslims. Uthman, he was killed unjustly by consensus of the Muslims. Everyone acknowledged he was killed wrongly. وَقَتَلَتُ, and those who had killed Uthman, those ones, and it became later known that they were from the Khawarij, those Khawarij that had actually killed Uthman, what they did was they had infiltrated fi Askar Ali, they had infiltrated the armies of Ali. Those ones who conspired and those ones who actually killed Uthman from the Khawarij, this is before they made their major khuruj and became clear, right? They had infiltrated the army of Ali. وَهُمْ غَالِبُونَ لَهُمْ شَوْكًا, and they were the majority in the army of Ali, and they had the upper hand. They had the upper hand at that time. Now, فإذا امتنعنا ظلمونا واعتدوا علينا, and if we prevent them, or if we don't give them what they're looking for, then they will oppress us and they will launch a military campaign against us, or they will fight against us. وَعَلِي لَا يُمْكِنُهُ دَفْعُهُمْ, and they felt that at that time Ali had yet to consolidate his power, because he couldn't prevent these individuals, he couldn't stop them at that particular time. He wasn't in a position to stop them at that particular time. كما لم يمكنه, just like he didn't have the ability الدفع عن Uthman, he didn't have the ability to defend and to protect Uthman. So they felt that because the situation which has led us here was the killing of Uthman, and because in their minds it wasn't consolidated to the extent where they were able to defend and protect Uthman, nor was it consolidated to the power, nor was it consolidated to the extent that those perpetrators of the assassination of Uthman could be brought to justice and stopped, and so on and so forth. Then the power had yet to be consolidated, so therefore they didn't have to make bay'ah at that particular time, because it was still a process in motion. وإنما علينا أن نبايع خليفة يقدر على أن ينصفنا ويبذل لنا الإنصاف. But they felt that we'll wait until the Khalifa consolidates the power, and comes who has the ability to establish fairness and to establish justice. So we'll wait until it's consolidated and they can establish fairness and they can establish justice. So this was the thinking on both sides. This was the thinking on both sides. So both sides saw that what they were doing was in the best interest of the Muslim nation, and it was that which was in compliance to the Kitab and to the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even the methodology, so now that we understand a little of the background and what led them to the conflict, was this Yahudi Abdullah bin Saba, and what each party was thinking, what was their perspective on what led to the conflict. The Shaykh, he mentions, he says, فَمَذْهَبُ أَهْلِ السُنَّةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ في الاختلاف الذي حصل والفتنة التي وقعت من جرائها الحروب بين الصحابة يتخلص في أمرين. So the methodology of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah as relates to the differing that had taken place and the fitna that had arisen and that the Muslims had fallen into, which led to the war between the Sahaba, then it could be summarized in 2 points. It could be summarized in 2 points. The first point, الأمر الأول أنهم يمسكون عن الكلام فيما حصل بين الصحابة, is that they withhold from speaking about that which has taken place amongst the Sahaba. That's the way of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. And you find the likes of these abawab and these discussions is only so as to bring clarity, so that we understand and we are taught the proper adab of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, and that's it. But as far as you find, like from Ahl Bid'ah, those who want to do research and so on and so forth in comparison, and try to comparative history and all this type of stuff to see, and delve into this, you don't find this with Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. It's not from our way, but rather our way is to, in general, to what? To withhold. Our way is to withhold from speaking about that which has transpired between the Sahaba. Na'am. يكفون عن البحث فيه, and we withhold from researching it. We withhold from trying to research it. لأن طريق السلامة هو السكوت عن مثل هذا, because the way to success is to be quiet about the likes of this. ويقولون, and they say, as Allah Ta'ala informs us, والذين جاءوا من بعدهم يقولون ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. Is that Ahlul Sunnah, we say, as Allah Ta'ala, He describes the believers inside the Qur'an, is that they say, is that those who come after them, meaning those who come after the Sahaba, they say, oh our Lord, forgive us and forgive our brothers who have preceded us in Iman, who preceded us in faith, and do not make any problems, do not make any rancor in our hearts for those who believe. O our Lord, verily you are the most compassionate, the most merciful. O our Lord, you are the most compassionate, the most merciful. So this is the first standpoint, is that Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, generally what? We don't talk about these things, what has transpired between them. What Amr Thani, and the second, al-ijaba an al-athar المروية في مساويهم وذلك من وجوه. And the next standpoint is as relates to those narrations that come talking about what has transpired between the Sahaba, for mentioning their faults and so on and so forth. Then we deal with that from different ways, different angles. The first angle, وجه الأول أن هذه الآثار منها ما هو كذب, is that from these narrations you have from it that which is straight up lies. وقد افتراه أعداؤهم ليشوهوا سمعتهم, is that these narrations were invented and fabricated by the enemies of the Sahaba so as to destroy their reputations and to taint their reputations. So these narrations, most of them are lies and were only constructed to taint the reputation and the image of the Sahaba. وجه الثاني, secondly, أن هذه الآثار منها ما قد زيد ونقص فيه. You have narrations that have been added to and others that have been taken away from. وغير عن وجه الصحيح, and it have been changed from their proper manner. ودخله الكذب, and lies have been introduced into him. فهو محرف, so it is that which has been changed, it has been altered. فلا يلفت إليه, so therefore attention is not given to it. Lies have been added to it, things have been taken away from it, things have been taken out of its context, and so on and so forth, and misconstrued to the end of it, so they can't be trusted, so we don't even pay attention to them. That's another standpoint, how we deal with this. So somebody say, oh, the narrations, lies. Nah, then you got that was the truth mixed with lies, stuff taken out of context, twisted, so on and so forth, so we don't pay no attention to it. But وجه الثالث, and the third standpoint, أن ما صح من هذه الآثار, is that which is authentic from these narrations, هو قليل, is very little. It's very little. وهم فيه معذورون, and they are forgiven. The Sahaba are forgiven as relates to it. لأنهم إما مجتهدون مصيبون, because either they made ijtihad and they were correct, وإما مجتهدون مخطئون, or they made ijtihad and they were wrong. Either they made ijtihad and they were right, or they made ijtihad and they were wrong. فهو من مواريد الاجتهاد, so it is that which has come as a result of ijtihad. الذي إن أصاب المجتهد فيه فله أجران, that which if the mujtahid is correct in his ijtihad, he gets 2 rewards. وإن أخطأ فله أجر واحد, and if he's wrong, he gets 1 reward. والخطأ مغفور, and the one who was wrong in his ijtihad from the mujtahideen, or for the mujtahidun, then what? Then he gets 1 reward for his wrong, and he is forgiven for his error. He is forgiven for his error. لما في الحديث, as it comes inside of the hadith, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, إذا اجتهد الحاكم فأصاب فله أجران وإن اجتهد فأخطأ فله أجر واحد, is that the mujtahid or the hakim, if he makes the ijtihad and he is right, then he gets 2 rewards, and if he makes the ijtihad and he is wrong, then he gets 1 reward. This hadith is muttafiqun alayh, from the hadith of Amr bin Aus radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So the Sahaba, they were what? They were mujtahid, they made ijtihad. So even when they were wrong, they got a reward. Those who were wrong and those who were right, and they got 2 rewards for the ijtihad. Ala kulli hal, those who had erred in their ijtihad, then their error is forgiven. The error is forgiven. So even those ones which come that are correct, and they say, oh, but look at this, then this is our reply to the likes of that. And then fourthly, وجه الرابع, is that أنهم بشر, is that the Sahaba, they were human beings. نعم يجوز على الأفراد على الأفرادهم الخطأ, they were human beings, so it is possible that an individual from amongst them can make a mistake because they're human beings. فهم ليسوا معصومين, and they are not infallible. من الذنوب, they're not infallible from error, they're not free from error. بالنسبة للأفراد, as relates to the individuals from the Sahaba. ولكن ما يقع منه فله مكفرات عديدة, but rather that which had taken place from them, then there are many things which will expiate that which had that which they had fallen into from error. There are many different points that will expiate that which the Sahaba, they had fallen into from error. But inshallah ta'ala, we will get in to further understand that even when they were wrong, how that wrong, and this is in addition to, because it came from an ijtihad, is forgiven. They still get a reward. But then there are more points. There are more points where the heart of the Sunni Salafi he has inside of his arsenal for those who say, oh, but look, so our response is okay, even if na'am, they're forgiven because they made an ijtihad, they get a reward for it. And then he brings more points why whatever they had fallen into was already expiated for them. Na'am. But inshallah ta'ala, we'll save that for next week's class, and we'll get into that at that point بإذن الله تعالى. فنقف هنا فيعني نعم، ويكتفي بهذا القدر. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.